They're free from ISIL's clutches now, but men, women and children in eastern Mosul are desperate for food. Hence chaotic scenes as aid organizations struggle to distribute supplies in parts of the Iraqi city liberated by government forces from the jihadists' iron grip. They need aid, says this Red Crescent worker. The area wasn't liberated before. Now it is, and the families who were displaced are returning. It's difficult to bring in food, so we're trying to get aid from our branch in Erbil. With no running water or electricity, the hardship of those trying to restart their lives is huge. US-led airstrikes have demolished scores of buildings and left massive craters that destroyed roads.
After the fall of Aleppo, another major blow for Syria's rebels. The regime announced it's captured 11 rebel-held villages in the Wadi Barada Valley, northwest of the capital Damascus. It follows weeks of constant regime bombing, despite an ongoing truce. In a deal agreed by both sides, some rebels and their families are being bused to the northern province of Idlib.
Units of our armed forces, in cooperation with Popular Defense Forces, accomplished their duties in re-establishing safety and security to the towns and villages of Wadi Barada in Damascus's western suburbs after a group of successful military operations.
The military offensive launched last month was partly aimed at seizing control of a major spring and water pumping station in the village of Ain al-Fajr, which supplies most of the capital's drinking water. Fighting and damage to the site left around 5.5 million people without supplies. But engineers have now started repairing the pump. Wadi Barada is a mountainous region spanning 400 square kilometers. It lies 20 kilometers northwest of Damascus, close to the Lebanese border. Around 80,000 people live here. Its recapture signals the fall of another rebel-held area in western Syria, and comes weeks after rebels were driven away from areas they controlled in Aleppo, their last major urban stronghold. Under the deal, rebels can choose to stay in the area but hand over their weapons, or leave for Idlib, the last major bastion of the armed opposition. Shamim Chowdhury, TRT World.
At least 7 Ukrainian soldiers are dead following a weekend of violent clashes with pro-Russian rebels. Speaking amid continued fighting on Monday, January 30th, Ukrainian officials reported the violence had wounded more than a dozen additional soldiers. At the same time, a separatist group maintains that Ukrainian troops killed at least 1 civilian, as well as one of its fighters. Reuters says those reports could not be confirmed. The uptick in violence coincides with a Saturday phone call between United States President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Ukrainian government is reportedly worried the international community will leave Russia unchecked now that Trump has taken office. The conflict in eastern Ukraine has been simmering since 2014, when Russia took over the Crimean Peninsula. A ceasefire was brokered in 2015 but never maintained. Nearly 10,000 deaths have been reported in the past 3 years.
Holding placards and chanting "No state visit." Tens of thousands of people protesting in British cities against US President Trump's travel ban on Monday night. The London protest outside the Downing Street residence of British Prime Minister Theresa May, calling on her to cancel Trump's planned state visit later this year.
And there comes a moment when we have to ask our government, where do you stand? And that's why I'm here today. Not just because I believe what Trump is doing is appalling, not just because I believe it's counterproductive, not just because I know that it will not achieve even what he says he is trying to achieve, but because I want my government to stand up and say, he is wrong.
However, May won't be backing down.
The United States is a close ally of the United Kingdom. We work together across many areas of mutual interest, and we have that special relationship between us. I have issued that invitation, informally issued that invitation for a state visit for President Trump here to the United Kingdom, and that invitation stands.
The invitation involves lavish displays of royal pageantry and a banquet hosted by Queen Elizabeth. In a grassroots backlash, over 1.6 million people have signed a petition asking for the state visit to be cancelled, saying it will be an embarrassment to the monarch. Once a petition passes 100,000 signatures, British lawmakers must consider it for debate in Parliament. Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson already questioned for over an hour in Parliament on Trump's executive order. A growing list of politicians calling for the visit to be cancelled. The petition, already the second most popular ever on the parliamentary website, showing no sign of slowing down.
There's now a traffic jam getting into East Mosul. Its people are starting to pick up the pieces. Heavy fighting and US-led airstrikes has left much of it in ruins. This was once one of the most prestigious universities in the Middle East. The buildings that aren't burned are booby-trapped. Islamic State used the chemistry labs to make bombs. Only mortars and gunfire break the eerie silence of Mosul's campus. Local officials say the state has limited resources to cope with the widespread destruction. We're told this street nearby was popular with Islamic State's foreign fighters. It had the best restaurants and internet cafes. Gaeth told us his jihadi customers included Americans, French and Chinese. Manaf showed us around his closed pool hall. In different times it was packed until midnight with players. IS confiscated the balls. The airstrikes rattled the tables and disrupted the balance.
People are confused now. They don't know what the future of Mosul is going to be. We don't know what our future will be. Until this moment, no member of the government has come here and explained to us what is going to happen. Are they going to build? We don't know.
It'll be years before residents recover from Islamic State's reign of terror in what was once their biggest stronghold.
Well, Trump also had a fruitful phone conversation with the South Korean acting president, Hwang Kyo-an. The two leaders have agreed to take steps to strengthen joint defence capabilities against the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Trump reiterated the US ironclad commitment in defending South Korea through a provision of extended deterrence using the full range of military capabilities. An upcoming visit by the new US Defence Secretary to South Korea and Japan was also discussed, where shared concerns over the DPRK will top the agenda. Washington and Seoul have agreed to deploy a THAAD system to protect against Pyongyang's growing nuclear and ballistic capabilities, despite objections from China, which says the radar could penetrate Chinese territory.
The White House is now spending significant amount of time justifying its executive order issued on Friday and defending its implementation. The White House says the implementation was, in fact, a success. They say only 109 people were detained over the weekend under the order out of about 325,000 international travelers just within the first 24 hours since the ban was issued. Now, of course, we've seen protests from coast to coast around the country and the world, and a number of lawsuits have been filed against the administration to try to block this executive order from being implemented. The White House message, though, to the protesters and those who filed these lawsuits: your convenience is not the priority. American public safety is.
Coming into this country is still a privilege. We're the greatest country on earth. And being able to come to America is a privilege, not a right. And it is our duty, and it is the President's goal to make sure that everybody who comes into this country, to the best of our ability, is here because they want to enjoy this country and come in peacefully.
As I say, there are a number of groups, though, challenging this executive order, including Muslim American groups, one of whom filed a lawsuit saying this order is unconstitutional. It violates the rights of religious freedom for Muslim Americans, and that's why they're challenging it.
Donald Trump is hurting who we are as Americans. And therefore, the way I see this lawsuit, it is really the law versus Donald Trump. It is the American traditional values of openness, human dignity and respect versus Donald Trump.
The White House also acknowledged that it has seen this dissent memo sent by State Department employees who question whether this executive order will in fact hurt intelligence gathering for the United States and even the U.S. economy. But to them, the White House says, if you don't want to enforce the law or you're uncomfortable with this order, perhaps you should resign.
A sight for sore eyes, an Aleutian supertanker arriving from Russia, answering Chile's call for help. Down below, volunteers from all over Chile, armed with anything they can get their hands on, battling round the clock, trying to keep the flames at bay.
We're doing what we more or less understand needs to be done, but it's not enough. We're all alone here, as you can see.
Chile's 2,500 firemen are insufficient. More than 100 active fires are still spreading from central to southern Chile, fanned by a prolonged drought and extreme summer heat.
Few countries are as accustomed to natural disasters as Chile. There are constant earthquakes, big and small, tsunamis, volcano eruptions. But bush and forest fires of the magnitude that you're seeing here are absolutely unprecedented.
Eduardo Tapia walks us through what was his living room. Only the flagpole is left of what was his home. The family just barely made it out alive with their pets when the flames destroyed everything.
It started at 10 in the morning, and then the winds changed, of course. So we think it was done on purpose, that someone started it.
Indeed, some 43 people are under arrest for suspicion of having deliberately set fires that now no one can stop. Many have lost their livelihood. Flor del Carmen Gatica takes us to where the firewood her father stored caught fire. They threw it into the well, saving their house, but losing all their water.
What will people do now? The rose hip bushes are gone. My father has been collecting firewood all year for winter and to sell, and now it's gone too.
There will be plenty of time for asking how all this could have happened. But for now, the only thing that matters is to stop this inferno from spreading any further.
According to reports in Japan, Tokyo Electric Power, the operator of the wrecked Fukushima nuclear plant, has found possible nuclear fuel debris below the damaged number 2 reactor. If the findings are confirmed, it would be a significant breakthrough in attempts to clean up the nuclear facility. TEPCO detected a lump of black material directly below the reactor in a camera inspection on Monday morning, but what it is hasn't been confirmed. The company will announce its assessment of the material at a news conference later on Monday. 3 reactors at the Fukushima plant went into meltdown after a magnitude 9 earthquake struck off the coast in March 2011, forcing around 160,000 people to flee their homes.